Hej och välkommen till den svenska smakutvecklingsdagboken. We are, of course, looking at the Swedish Tinto flavor Dev Diary today, and, it reflects a little bit of the Swedish. Yeah, I thought I might sprinkle that in. One thing I can promise you, though, is that of all of the content creators that I know of that are doing the Tinto talks, I will be the one that comes in with the most accurate city names, Swedish words. I know how to pronounce or and So, without further ado, how about you subscribe to me on YouTube and just to say bra jobbat. Just because I did the Swedishness. Anyway, before we get into the Tinto talk, though, there is something else that I do want to have a quick little gander at, and that is this comment right here. This was posted in the comments of the Dev Diary that we're going to be looking at, but it's separate. It's separate, and there's something very important to look at. So, seeing this map, and they're of course talking about this map here. What's the reason you decided not to go with an Imperator-style height map? Right. The thing is, people are pointing out the height map and thinking that is what is making all the difference and why E5 doesn't look quite as good as Imperator Rome. I don't think it's entirely down to the height map. I think there's a lot to do with texturing and colors and art stuff. It's not really the bumps and the hills and the valleys, right? But either way, they did add the Imperator-style height map a few days ago. I don't know if it is here. This isn't exactly the most hilly region in the world, right? The small amount of land that we can see, of course, in Kalmar, and here is Östergötland. But what we do have in the Dev Diary that came out on Wednesday, today, if you're watching this as soon as it uploads, we got this. We got that. And, yeah, I think the height map has been upgraded somewhat significantly. But I will say, at the same time, this image also quite perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about when I'm saying that it is not all about the height map that is making Imperator look better. Because what we have here is, for example, this patch of not forest, not jungle, but plains and farmlands and such, looks quite jarring. It looks quite, the line, the differentiation between the forest and the plains it's too harsh. The colors are a little bit weird. You can see it very much when you look at a picture of the world. But very much so, this here is indicative of what I mean, right? That, this is not the be-all and end-all. The height map is not the be-all and end-all. However, what I'll say is, the height map looks absolutely freaking gorgeous. Like this, obviously, we've got India here. This is Bengal. This is China over here. And then this, obviously, the Southeast Asia area, the mountains and such. Looks really, really, really good. Everything here looks really good. It's the flat bits that just need a little bit of, it's too samey from here to here. It's too samey. It needs something to break it up. And Imperator did a really good job of breaking up the flatland. It is just down to textures and colors, and maybe, a few more trees could be added or something along those lines. Yeah, no, this is a marked improvement, and it looks great. Looks great. But anyway, back to Kalmar. One thing you'll notice here as well, actually, what we can do is, if I pull up, what's the easiest way for me to pull up? If I pull up the Steam page for E5, and we have a look at, for example, Italy's a good one. You can see the size of the cities are really, really big, and there was a big commentary about these are too large, we need these to be made smaller, and, things were changed because of that. Actually, I don't see there's very many cities that you can even see from this image, but the cities were too big, and people complained, and changes were made because of those complaints. And in fairness, I mean, yeah, no, in fairness, that fills up the entire thing. In fairness, what we have got now is much, much smaller cities. I will say this is a place with stone as an RGO, quite clearly. And I will say the stone also needs to be scaled down somewhat, because now the stone is larger than the city itself, or the town, I should say, itself. That is something that there's things that need, scale work. Trees, I'm totally fine with the trees. Maybe a texture upgrade would be kind of nice. But I think the RGO here, the stone looks a bit too big. These cows, livestock, I guess, seem fine. I believe that's probably copper. Seems fine scaling. But the stone is just a little bit much. Right. With that all out of the way, how about we start having a little bit of a chat about the favorite country of Paradox Interactive and the home of Paradox Interactive, Sverige, Sweden. Hello and welcome to another Tinto Flavor. This time, I have been forced to write it. Yes, we now have Johan back. He has been away busy in the code mines, but now he is returned. He is the one responsible for the country we will learn about today. I was unaware, right? We all know that Johan is a, eldritch being of cosmic proportions, infinite, length. I mean, you've seen the color of his hair. That just been around a while. However, I was not aware he founded Sweden. News to me, but it's believable. It is believable. Anyway, we're going to delve into the fun flavor spelled wrong that you get from playing Sweden. But prior to that, just remember to wishlist. And yeah, as I said, the EU5 is now on Steam. I've wishlisted it because it's the easiest way for me to find the link to this is just look at my wishlist page. Similar to Age of History 3 and Empire of the Ants. Not EU4 though. No, my 10,000 hours in EU4 is certainly not relevant here. I mean, brother in Christ, whatever. Sweden is a feudal kingdom under the rule of Magnus Eriksson, who also holds the crowns of Norway, Skåne. Again, I told you at the start, I am the one that is going to pronounce all these correctly. You look at these other content creators, they say this word and they say Skane or Skane. Yeah, Skåne. Yeah, this A with a circle above it. Oh, see, I'm good at this. Anyway, Skåne was bought from the impoverished Danes just a few years ago. Our realm is vast, but sparsely populated, and mostly covered by forests. Inside those forests, riches of iron and copper remain hidden, but can soon be exploited to enrich our country. So here we have the starting page for Sweden. King Magnus is certainly an character. Bro is ugly AF and has real bad stats. But looking at the cultures here that are within Sweden, there is a few things to point out, and we're going to hop forward to one of the questions before we get to the rest of the dev dive because of it. So, obviously, Swedish, the majority culture, right? We have 645,000 of those, 86% of our population. However, we have now also got Tavastians and Finnish. There's also Gutnish, but, that's from Gotland and is irrelevant. And Karelians. So, the thing that was pointed out is having Tavastians and Finnish at the same time is a little bit similar to having Northumbrians and English, implying that the Northumbrians are not English. But this was pointed out, and Yuan came in with a response. The response is here. I will read the question first. What exactly is Finnish culture supposed to represent here if they're not Savonians, and not Tavastians, and not Karelians, and not Fenno-Swedes? Relevant here as well. We're going to be talking about the Fenno-Swedes in a moment. Is this another mix-up of cultures like Markish and Brandenburger, two names for the same culture, yet mistakenly separated as distinct in the game? It makes little sense to have regional variation cultures and the overarching culture existing simultaneously, as in Bavarian and German being distinct, or a pop being Wessexian but not English. So the idea to split up Gotlanders from the main Swedish culture can hardly be justified when other regional cultures of Sweden are lumped together. There's no consistency here. If you wanted to, you could give each location in Norway its own cultural tag, one dialect and folk dress for every vale. Yeah, I mean, Norway's a special case as well because, like, today they have 2 Norwegian languages. I forget the name. Bokmal, I think one of them is called. But yeah, no, Norway's special case. But anyway, as for what Finnish represents, and going back to here, no, going back to here, what Finnish represents here is the Catholic Finns at the start of the game, but eventually all Tavastians, Savonians, and Kven, which I believe the Kven are the society of pops that exists in Finland, will merge into all being Finns, and we have Mikael Agricola, which we've previously seen him in a Dev Diary before. With our embracement of the Reformation, the time has come to translate the Holy Bible into the Finnic. This should be either the Finnic language, or just into Finnic, or into Finnish. This will be a great benefit to create a unified Finnish culture in our country. Learn now, old and young, who have a fresh heart, God's commandments and the mind, so you shall know the Finnish language. Mikael Agricola was born in Nyland and studied in Viberi. It's probably the Y is difficult in Swedish, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, studied in Viberi before becoming the Bishop of Åbo. Not Abo, not Abo, Åbo. Which I believe is currently called Turku in Finland. Used to be the capital of Finland as well. Nyland is the region where Helsinki is. He's credited with being the father of the written Finnish language, writing the first book, an ABC and catechism, and a prayer book before translating the New Testament into Finnish. So we start printing the... I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce this. I asked my wife, who is Finnish, and I don't remember what she said, actually, but ABC Kyria or Abkyria, I actually can't remember. But anyway, this will make it so Tavastians, Savonians, and Kven will now consider themselves as Finnish. What this does, it's not entirely clear, right? Does this say all these Tavastian pops, the Savonian pops, the Kven pops, are no longer Tavastian, Savonian, and Kven? They are now Finnish pops. They all basically instant culture switch. That could be that. It literally could be that. I don't know. It would be nice to get a little clarification on that, but very cool that this event is in here. I think it is really important for the game in general to have these kinds of things. Having essentially cultural unification, right? In France, in the game, there are 1,001 frickin' French cultures, and today there is essentially one French culture, and then there's Brittany, Breton, sorry, is the word I'm looking for. But other than, all of the, I say all French cultures, I should say more French language. Whereas before, in 1337, there was like a dozen French languages. Now there is one French language and Breton, which is, I guess, a French language as well. But you know what I mean. But having this here makes me hopeful, potentially, that we may end up getting some kind of event that will do that same thing for French as well. Maybe an event that will change Northumbrian into English as well. I don't know. Something along those lines would be cool. I like these kinds of things. I think there's a bunch of Polish cultures as well. If you can get some kind of Polish unification event, it doesn't need to be an event. It could be anything really, but that would be really cool. I really like that idea. Let me know what you think. But anyway, back to the Dev Diary. Mostly Catholic Swedes, but there's plenty of different Finnish people as well. Even a few Norse pagans live in the inland forest. So we have 3,000 Norse pagans. I would say just drop paganism and just have Norse here. Works just fine. I don't think it's necessary to have the paganism on there as well. The king is not only ugly, he also has shitty stats. And now you know why it took me 15 minutes to get to this part of the dev diary, because if I'd said this earlier, I'd get demonetized. Yeah, 33033 is a bit boring numbers, though, so feel free to suggest any fitting variants within plus or minus 10 of it. So clearly, what is best for people who want to play Sweden is a 43-10-43. But also, yeah, just having anything that isn't, a third of max, 0% of max, and another third of max would look better. But yeah, I think this should be the case for all characters. I don't think anyone should come with these kinds of stats. But anyway, we have a map of Sweden as well. They're large on the map, but very different from modern borders of the country, of course. With Skåne also being a separate kingdom, because the king, Magnus, he styled himself King of Sweden, Norway, and Skåne. So, Sweden starts with a relatively powerful commoner's estate, as they're both represented in the Riksdag, which is the flavorful name for the parliament in Sweden. Also, I believe they called it that today as well, and have the privilege to freely move. So we have the kronen. Obviously, krona is the current Swedish currency as well. So we have krona estate, we have the andelsståndet, we have the prästeståndet, borgarståndet, and the bondeståndet. Very nice. Et means the, stånd means like estate, then bonde, the burgers, the priests, and the adels. Anyway, they also have a unique privilege for the commoners. It is land-owning peasants. Gives them extra food production and levy combat ability. Actually sounds really good. I don't know why I'd ever want to get rid of that, but you're going to have to spend quite a lot of crown power. Or not spend it, but you might have a lot of crown power to remove it. Swedish peasants held a uniquely strong position compared to much of feudal Europe. They owned their land outright, paid taxes directly to the crown, and often had a voice in local assemblies, giving them a degree of autonomy and legal protection. These farmers were not serfs. Many were armed and served in levies. Their rights were rooted in ancient customary law, and their relative independence formed a foundational element of early Swedish rural society. Very cool. I was not aware of this, but that's kind of awesome. While it's active, you cannot remove the free mobility and their representation in Parliament either. I would say that's fine, because both of these were relatively decent privileges to have. Just knowing that from playing the game myself. There's also another commoner's privilege that I like to give out, which lets them own weapons. So that's also really cool. Luckily, a bit of food and better fighting levies are not all bad. Yeah, I mean, just giving extra power, but like at the same time, they still don't have that much power. So who cares? At the end of the day, it makes very little difference. They have, 90-something% of the pops and 10% power. Like, it is not a problem to have them with extra 50%. Sweden also has access to this unique cabinet action that can be done in any province in Norrland or Finland that has a total population of less than 10,000 people. This is to simulate the insane population growth that Finland had during the 14th and 15th century, which was the highest in the world at that time. So, supporting new farms in the north or east, you get migration attraction, monthly development, and a huge amount of population growth. And honestly, you just do this on every single province that doesn't have 10,000 people. 10,000 people is not a huge amount. It really isn't. So, I don't think people are going to point out that this is OP or whatever. I really don't think that's the case. And yeah, Finland had a huge population boom. So, definitely it feels right to have. I'm okay with this. While Sweden does not start with any works of art, it has a unique bonus in Falun, where the Great Copper Mountain, Stora Kopparberget, gives a lot of extra copper per laborer working there. Stora Kopparberget, very nice. I mean, this was in EU4 as well. For some reason, people thought that there weren't going to be any, unique location modifiers. For some reason, I don't know why that is. But here, obviously, we have a unique location modifier, Stora Kopparberget. We also have one for the gem mines in Golconda. Do we get a modifier similar to the Falun Copper for the Golconda diamonds, only known source of fine diamonds for pretty much the entire span of the game. So that is there for sure. And Sweden also gets 2 unique units in the Age of Absolutism. We have the Hakapolita, Finnish cavalry. The Hakkapeliitta were the fearsome Finnish cavalry known for their gruesome effectiveness on the battlefield. The name Hakkapeliitta is a Finnish modification of the names that the soldiers of the Holy Roman Empire gave them, stemming from their battle cry, Hakka Pale, or hack on them and cut them down. The Hakkapeliitta were feared for their sudden and savage attacks that shocked the enemy into submission. The cavalry unit has +5 initiative, 10% extra movement speed, and 1 combat speed compared to the regular cavalry units of this age. Fantastic that this is stated. This is what I've been asking for. Anytime we've gotten, some units been shown to us, I've asked for this, and it's fantastic that it's being added. Karolians as well. The Karolians are the Swedish and Finnish infantry of the Swedish Empire, recruited from the peasantry. The Karolians go under strict training and are renowned for invoking fear in the hearts of their enemies. They get +2 initiative, 10% more morale damage, and take 20% less morale damage. The units enable a Swedish army to have the possibility of quickly and decisively winning battles in the Age of Absolutism, which was the time period where Sweden had its military successes historically. Very cool. While you get these units from advances, there are also plenty of other advances that Sweden has access to. Some of these include the following: always attack, Gopo, giving 20% infantry power, which is, it's 20 ICA, which is something that they had in EU4 as well. If one just forms up in a Svinfylking and charges into the opponent, they will shatter. Horses are meant to be used to be ridden into battle and have no place on the battlefield, which is a quote/reference to the Arn books, which they made a movie out of the Arn books, which, I guess the most famous actor that was a part of that would be Stefan Skarsgård, who you will know as the guy playing Luthen in Andor right now. But yeah, he was in this, and he was in that movie, and yeah, I believe this is a quote from that book, which is cool. Kung och Riksdag. The Swedish kings are often dependent on cooperation with the estates, especially with the large peasant class, to balance out the nobility. During Gustavus Adolphus's reign, however, a historic compromise was made with the nobility, who pledged to loyally put their resources to the nation's disposal in return for new privileges, giving you an extra government reform. Very nice, like that. Quality government involved both the king and the estates. We have the Kungliga Postverket, giving you 5% reduced distance cost to capital, amazing modifier. The Kungliga Postverket, which is the royal post agency, was founded during the reign of Queen Christina. Created to improve state administration and communication across the vast Swedish Empire, it established a reliable network of couriers and way stations. The system became crucial for military coordination, diplomacy, and governance during Sweden's era as a great power. And you could see that there's a little bit of animosity, hostility, disappointment. I suppose there's not many people who can look at their, National Post Service and say, yes, they're doing a good job right now. It's fairly common to, the post is late once, and it's a sign that the post service has gone down the bin. I feel like that's what's going on here. We also have Machina Nova. Christopher Polhem, dubbed the father of Swedish engineering, transformed Sweden's industry with his Machina Nova, an innovative array of mechanical systems to streamline and boost production. Using intricate systems of gears, cams, and water power, Polhem developed machines capable of performing tasks previously done by hand, from ore crushing in mines to textile weaving and sawmilling. His Laboratorium Mechanicum... I'm sorry, I'm going to read that again because it was cool. His Laboratorium Mechanicum... God, I'm attracted to my toaster right now. Served as both a workshop and a school, spreading mechanical knowledge throughout the kingdom. I mean, look, that's just a really cool fucking phrase to say. I mean, I'm not gonna look. I mean, praise the Omnissiah, naturally, of course. One of the greatest scientists of the age of absolutism. He was clearly a bit of an advisor to the Emperor of Mankind. Naturally, of course. Advances alone do not always give enough flavour, so there are plenty of dynamic historical events as well. While Sweden starts with a historical saint in Eric the Holy, there are others presented as well in the game. So, after this event, Birgitta Birgersdotter criticizes King Magnus. Bridget of Sweden first appears, and we have this event. A woman of the nobility, Birgitta Birgersdotter, claims that she has had visions from God. She is one of the most pious women in our country, with pilgrimages to several holy sites. So when she accuses the king of not being a good enough Christian, or even accusing him of homosexuality, many listen. Spelling typo, just saying. Holy Birgitta, also known as Saint Bridget of Sweden, was a prominent mystic, writer, and founder of the Brigittine order. She is one of the most well-known medieval saints and was canonized in 1391. Born into a noble family, she became deeply religious from an early age, experiencing visions that she attributed to divine revelations. Her writings and visions often contain sharp critiques of the political and moral state of her time, including commentary on the actions and responsibilities of rulers. One of her most notable critiques may have been directed at King Magnus Eriksson. This is, in fact, embarrassing. Eventually, after she dies, you get another event. The news of Birgitta Berger's daughter's canonization has reached the kingdom. Known for her deep piety and mystical visions, her devotion and influence extended far beyond her homeland. Canonized by the Pope, she has become a symbol of Swedish holiness and a source of inspiration for the faithful. This event strengthens Sweden's position in Christendom, but it also raises questions about the role of the Church in the kingdom. How should we respond to this momentous occasion? She was canonized by the Pope Boniface, I think. It's not Boniface, is it? It can't be Boniface. Anyway, she was confirmed in 1415 by the Council of Constance. She is now celebrated on October the 8th. The 8th of October. The Americanisms. So we can encourage pilgrimages to Vadstena Abbey, which is good because you get yourself a minor holy site in Vadstena, which will give you Catholic holy site, Vadstena. You get some religious influence. You get 2 gold a month. I really hope they, edit this so it's called ducats, because let's be honest, it should be ducats. You also gain possible clerics in some prosperity in Vadstena. Very nice. Some of the other over 60 unique historical events include the following. The silver mine of Sala. As Europe strides towards modernity, the voracious demand for silver continues to grow, fueling trade and currency. In the heart of the Kingdom of Sweden, the discovery of substantial silver deposits in Sala has caught the attention of the crown. The mines promise immense wealth, potentially capable of bolstering Sweden's financial standing on the continent. However, mining the precious metal is fraught with challenges, from flooding tunnels to the risk of cave-ins, requiring substantial investment and skilled labor. The mining of silver in Sala started in the middle of the 15th century, but it was not until the start of the 16th century that the crown started to get interested. The miners started to negotiate with Svante Nilsen Sture at Christmas 1511 and got their royal privilege signed in 1512. Very cool. It changes your raw good, your RGO, to silver. We also have the Walloons in Sweden. This is actually a very interesting event for me personally, and we'll get into why in a moment. In 1614, the Walloon entrepreneur Louis de Geer set up shop in Sweden and undertook the development of the iron ore mining and foundries in northern Sweden. For some time already, Walloon craftsmen from the Hainaut, Brabant, and Luxembourg regions had been fleeing unemployment and immigrated to Sweden. The influx of master metal workers and ore refiners revitalized the industry and led to massive improvement in steel quality, a major advantage in weapons manufacture. In a few decades, Sweden became a major exporter of steel and cannon, as well as copper and iron. So you get 100 Walloon pops migrate each month from Liège to Östergötland for the next 120 months, and then from Liège to Uppland for the next 120 months. The reason that this is very interesting to me personally is because of these 200 pops that you see, at least one of them is my wife's ancestor. My wife has one of her extended family has a huge-ass family tree, image thing, all written down and tracked and stuff. And so she knows that her ancestry, going way back, at least obviously a branch of it, not obviously all of them, comes from this Wallonian migration. So, I think that's really cool. And, my wife's Ancestry is kind of in the game as an event that we get to, have happen. I don't know. I just find that really, really cool. It's just kind of based. But yeah, very nice. We also have the founding of Göteborg. Göteborg. Not Göteborg. Look, I'm gonna shit on all the other content creators because I feel like I'm the one that's gonna get this the most correct, even though it's probably still bad. Verlort. Anyway, our country have long been focused on the Baltic Sea, but as the world grows, more and more trade and wealth comes from the west. We need a big city in the west to support our ambitions. So the city of Gothenburg. Why are you using Americanisms for this now? I mean, I say Americanisms. This is just anglicized. Was founded in 1621 by King Gustavus Adolphus on the southern shore of Jutta Elv. The majority of the population in the early days were Dutch burghers, and the city's original layout was made with canals. It will be a city for the angels. A city. City. But the location of Utlandet becomes a town. Changed its name to Göteborg. I mean, sure, kind of funny. City, but it becomes a town. I mean, fair enough, but at the same time, it's a little bit funny. But yeah, that is the founding of Göteborg, which I believe is Sweden's second largest city nowadays, if I'm not right, after Stockholm, of course. But yeah, no, very, very cool. Very cool indeed to have that event. We also have Olaf Rudbeck has published The Atlantica. Botanist, architect, historian, astronomer, and musician, Olaf Rudbeck was an academic jack of all trades. But above all, he was a romantic and a patriot. His life's work was The Atlantica, a massive history in which he claimed that Sweden was in fact the mythical Atlantis. Due to Rudbeck's outstanding reputation and learned nature of his discourse, the grandiose work was surprisingly well received. All cultures, the professor claimed, originated in Sweden. As far as Paradox games go, like, all of the cultures in, the Europa Universalis franchise did in fact originate in Sweden. In a way, right? Technically, in a manner of speaking, technically. But anyway, that will give you some legitimacy, you gain some cultural influence, and you get yourself a work of art. Very nice. All right. So, obviously, graphics coming in what is today's, dev diary. I already showed you the main image from it. But there are also some other comments that we need to go and have a look at, starting with this one here. Can we see a map with the spread of Norse pagans in the country? Yes, we can. There's not a whole lot of them. There's, like I say, it's a very small amount. I am unsure of whether you're going to actually realistically going to be able to, revive Norse paganism and actually, play as the Norse. I just don't think it's going to really happen. But I do think it'd be cool if you did manage it, because that's kind of nice. Matt for here saying it would be really cool if said all that in the privilege tab. Basically talking about how the privilege for the commoners say can't be removed unless you've also removed this other privilege for the commoners. And I mean, it kind of does, because when you hover over, represented in Parliament, you say, our commoners do not have land-owning peasants, so that's why you can't revoke. So I guess it does, in a way, say that. But it's also, nice to have this privilege, because it's pretty good. So, I mean, it's extra when you're bringing your Parliament into session to get some bonuses. It's another option to give you some percentage towards the 50% that you need to then do what it is you want to do, or just pass the debate. So I like representing when I played, I liked representing in Parliament. Maybe that's not the play for everyone. Maybe that's not the play for every single country, but for me, I found it to be a benefit. Are the Swedish advantages, privileges, and units only for Sweden, or are they also available to Finnish countries? I think that at least some of them should be, like the units and landowning peasants. So, from these, Hakaplita is, of course, Finnish as well, and also the cabinet action the one that boosts the Finnish pop growth. Some more could be nice. I would like to have more Finnish flavor. I mean, I might be somewhat minorly biased in a small way. Like there's a slight potential that I might have a little bit of a bias for Finland. I'm just saying, might be there. Yeah, and as I said as well, is there any flavor for Norse paganism? No, unfortunately, there's not really that much. Whether you can go Norse pagan as Sweden, I don't think it's going to happen. Really, I really don't. But that's all I have for you today. I would like to know what you guys think. Sweden is a country that I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to play because, let's be honest, it's the it's the primary country of Paradox, and there is let's be honest, a little bit of bias for Sweden at Paradox Interactive. Sweden is not overpowered is an achievement in EU4 for a reason, and it looks like some of the reasons why Sweden gets a little bit overpowered exists here as well. GoPo, indeed. I went past it. Yeah, GoPo, indeed. It is what it is. I don't think they're going to be overpowered. I don't think they're going to be like obnoxious, but I do think it's going to be a very fun country to play because, I mean, Yuan obviously studied history in Sweden and has a vast knowledge of Swedish history. And then that gets put into the game, right? So I do think it is very possible that Sweden, relative to its population, probably has more events than most, relative to its population. So yeah, I think they're going to be a really fun country to play. I think I'm definitely going to be playing them. And I'm excited to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. So please do write down there. But until tomorrow, when I do a dev diary on the unit models and army formations and all that kind of good stuff that we're getting in the dev diary that just came out. Tack ok, hej då.